Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, Team Mosso at the1916company.com. It is in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Reach out to us directly for pricing, tmosso at the1916company.com. In 1996, Patek Philippe launched this, a true landmark watch for the company and for the industry. This is the Annual Calendar 5035, so 5035J-001 in yellow gold. This was the first ever annual calendar, a mechanism that Patek created so that its rank and file calendar watches could be more sophisticated than its competitors who used simple calendars. The difference is that a simple calendar needs 5 corrections a year, whereas an annual calendar is more like a perpetual, requiring only 1 correction annually during the jump from February to March. So this watch is a real pioneer and easy to wear. At 37 millimeters in diameter, 10.8 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip, 44 millimeters, with a 19 millimeter spacing between the lugs. At the time, this was considered a full-size men's model. Today, I think it's understood that while still a great size and universally attractive, this also lets our ladies play, as this watch will fit on a wrist as small as 13.5 centimeters circumference. My wrist is 16. You will appreciate that it's thin and sloped in profile with a concave bezel. It'll slide underneath the cuff, and the down the barrel shot really shows you how narrow this is across the wrist, even over the top, which exaggerates the width. Even pulling the unbroken end strap tightly, the lugs are still nowhere near the edge of my wrist. The strap is lovely. As you can see, a Patek Philippe factory strap. It features large rectangular scale, symmetrical scale alligator leather, which is always a very expensive cut of the beast. There's a light contrasting ochre strap threading within the leather. And the leather I would describe as sort of a red with undertones of brown, or brown with undertones of red, your choice. Taking a quick look, you can see the calfskin on the bottom is in outstanding condition. There's no crimping, no gouging, and it has a matching Patek Philippe spade-style yellow gold pin buckle. The case is simple and elegant with graceful integrated lugs that flow to a point at each side. We have little pusher adjusters for the calendar. The case is rounded, the bezel is inboard stepped and then concave to visually thin out the watch. The crown has a little bit of countersink so it doesn't stick out too obtrusively. And then the crystal has a little bit of a camber and a boxed profile, so an expensive crystal as it's anything but flat. The dial, what Patek would call opaline, so it's a metallic frosted glow rather than a directional grain like a sunburst. We have a railroad style track outboard for reading minutes and seconds. And then we have yellow gold Roman numerals and hands. And a little bit of a quirk, you rarely see this. Most watches use what's called a watchmaker's 4, which is a Roman numeral 3 with another single digit added, whereas the I and the V is an uncommon application on a luxury watch. Generally, you just see 4 individual ones right there. So seeing a genuine Roman numeral 4 on a watch dial, rare stuff. Okay, what else is going on? Well, we've got an aperture for the date. We've got radial indicators for the day as well as the month, and then a 24-hour indicator down at the base of the dial. And, well, that's not so much for those who might be cut off from the sun. That's more a matter of letting you know whether the watch is in the danger zone. In general, with perpetual calendars, you just don't want to touch these little pusher adjusters in the hours between 8 p.m. and 4 a.m. So, yes, it's an AM/PM indicator, but it's also a danger zone indicator. And you can see right here, if I have 7 indicated and the hand is right next to 6, that is 7 a.m. Turning it all over. By the way, one feature this watch doesn't have is hacking seconds. That's not traditionally a feature of the 315 automatic architecture. And this is the 315 automatic winding. You can see Geneva hallmark. Back when this watch was made, Geneva hallmark was still the rule for Patek. We have a combination of a screwed-in case back, 30 meters water resistance, so dress watch water resistance only. We have automatic winding with a 3 hertz beat rate. That's the real difference between a 315 and a 324. It's the beat rate. But they still have a 45-hour power reserve, just like the more modern version of the movement. They're both 45 hours. We have Patek's free-sprung Gyromax style balance, easier to adjust precisely and more shock resistant. Taking a quick look across the bridges, 35 pivot jewels, and because it is Geneva hallmark, there's a lot of fancy detailing. Taking a look, there is engine turning on the base plate, on the reversing wheel of, or I guess it's a click wheel, we'll call it, for the winding system. You can also see engine turning on the center of the winding mass with a snailing on its edge, grooved snailing. Then there's circular Côte de Genève. We have linear Côte de Genève across the bridges. We have beveling on the bridges themselves. And actually, if you get really close to older Patek watches with display casebacks, you could see that it's a little bit more rustic in finishing detail, like filing marks are more visible on the bridges, and that's not a lapse in quality, that's just Patek and the entire watch industry getting used to the idea that going forward, even on Geneva hallmark movements, people would be spot checking with microscopes and absurd levels of magnification hitherto never used by the end user or customer. So finishing went from something that was accomplished and clean for the sake of impressing the next watchmaker to remove the case back, and it transitioned over to sort of a peacocking for the benefit of the owner of the watch. Still, lots to love here, and it is sort of finished from a kinder and gentler era of Patek, black polished screw heads and satin finished wheels. If you love this watch, it is a landmark piece and a great one. It even features a good deal of practicality in the form of abundant luminescence. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.